All right, hello everyone. Today I will be discussing why I'm using a 650 watt power supply on RTX 3080. There has been, you know, the usual speculation that you need at least a 750 watt power supply or 850 in order to use an RTX 3080, but I beg to differ. So, uh, Let's start with um, showing you what's in front of me. Okay, let's do this one. My on thing right now. There we go. So I'm using a 650 watt Seasonic Core GX. It is a 80 plus gold, and if you scroll down to the spec sheet, you will see here on the 12 volt rail that it can provide 648 watts of total power. That would mean the entirety of the 650 watt rated that they declared can be provided on its 12 volt rail. So if you don't know, most of the power that the GPU and the CPU uses is from the 12 volt rail. So you need to compute the maximum power draw of both CPU and the GPU and make sure that they are within spec of your power supply. So, the reason for um, the 650 watt is because I'm using a Ryzen 7 3700X. And before I upgraded to a 3080, I was using a RTX 2080, which only uses around 200, 215 watts. So if you compute that on a theoretical level, it should draw around 350 watts maximum. So I don't really overclock or, you know, do extensive extensive settings. I primarily use things on stock, so I just leave it as is. And so if you look at here, this is one of the high-end 3080s. So I bought an RTX 12 gigs of 3080. So this is the variant that we will be showing. As you can see here, this is not the one that I bought, by the way. So as you can see here, it says power connector 8 pin times 3. So this is the 3 pin, I mean 3 times 8 pin variant of the 3080. Now, there are two variants of this because one is a low powered one and one is the high powered, which is the 3 times 8 pin, because these are made for overclocking. So this is the one that I bought. This is the Zotac Gaming Amp Holo. So this one uses 2 times 8 pin. So before I bought this one, I did some research and made sure that I don't need to change my power supply in order to use it. So this video pretty much gave me all the information that I need. This is by O Technology. So he compared the power limits of all 3080 variants. So if you look at here, I'm not really sure if you'll be able to. Oh, so the one that I bought, this is the Zotac Amp Holo. This is the one that I'm using right now. As you can see here that there's a red line, and this red line is the maximum power limit, the maximum. So theoretically, this is the most power draw that it will use, and the blue line is the stock power limit. It is the typical power usage. As you can see, it's 350 watts. So um that means that 350 watts. So what's the big deal with the 650, right? And as you can see over here, all the 385 watts and all cards to the left, they are all using a 8 pin, I mean rather 2 times 8 pin connectors. These are all low powered 3080s. So you can pretty much say that you can run all of these on the 650 watt power supply as long as you're using a good 650 watt power supply. If you're using a crap one, just don't. That's a fire hazard. So let's see here. I believe the Founders Edition should be around here as well. I'm not really sure, but it should be. But anyway, as you can see here, there is also the MSI Ventus. Um, I believe this is a good card as well, and a couple of EVGA Ultras. But all the Strix and moving forward, the ones with that are kind of expensive, um, they are the ones that use 3 8-pin power connectors because they are meant to be overclocked, and they pretty much have power ripples in them. So that's why you need at least some say 750, but if I'm going to use these kinds of cards, I would choose 850 and above because they will ripple up to their maximum power limit pretty much. So you have to account for that. So let me switch screens real quick. All right, so let's move this on. So I've been running Heaven Benchmark on the background. As you can see here, my power draw is maxing at 339.7 watts. This is on stock, right? So this is on stock power draw. And yeah, this is pretty much what you can expect on a 2 by 8 pin connector 3080. Or I know it's a mouthful, but it is what it is. So yeah, where was it? There so we're here right now. We're consuming 315 watts, 330 just by running Heaven Benchmark on the background. Now, if I undervolt this, which I will in a second, so you will see that the maximum power draw will drop significantly. So let's see. Let's do undervolting right now. So the usual undervolt that I use is 1875 on 875 microvolt. So I'm going to reset this one, quick history. So right now I'm consuming what? 280 watts. Is this not enough for a 650 watt power supply? So if we're going to compute 650 watts minus what? Let's give or take 290 watts. That's how is it? 650 minus 290. That's 360 watts left overhead. And then if we remove the maximum power draw, even though you won't be able to reach it on your typical usage, the maximum power draw of the 3700X, which is somewhat around 120 to 125 watts, we still have 235 watts left. And if you account the usage of your RAM, which also uses 12 volts, but that's only like what, 1.2 volts per dim. That's pretty much a trickle right here. So as you can see, here's my calculator. So as you can see, if we compute what 290 watts plus 125 watts, that's 415 watts off the wall. That's way below what the usual, recommendations for a power supply that people kind of, recommend, because they usually recommend 750 for all 3080s. They pretty much generalize that every 3080 out there will consume pretty much the same, but they don't. Well, you can blame the AIBs and Nvidia for that because they made two variants of this shit. So I hope you understand that technically you can, but for the safer side, there are, you know, kind of, for me, I'm okay with this because I know I have a good power supply. I am confident that the Seasonic brand is, without a shadow of the doubt, will perform safely, and if there's a overcurrent happen, it will protect my system. But if you're in doubt that your power supply will not provide this much security in your system, then feel free to use what 750, 850. Well, or if you can 1000 watts, you could pretty much feature proof at that point. So yeah, I just made this video so that I can clarify this stuff because not everyone in the community understands that you can get away with this uh kind of low power draw PSUs for high end graphics card. This is the caveat. You can only use 650 watt if it's a good 650 watt. Not necessarily gold rated. Usually they are gold rated, but as long as the 12 volts can provide the entirety of the power that you need, then I think you're pretty much good. Of course, you still need to account for 20% overhead, just to be on the safer side. But still, you still need to do research, uh, compute power draws and stuff, especially total system power draw. You can, I believe, you can use PC Part Picker to somewhat give a ballpark on what kind of power draw you'll be, or you can expect on a system that you're going to build, so you can gauge what kind of parts you need to adjust. But for the most part, this is just what I want to uh, clarify. So I guess that's it, or that's all of it that I want to say. And thank you for watching.